Something is happening on store shelves right now that most people are completely missing. And I don't mean a sale. I don't mean a coupon. I mean a quiet, permanent shift in what you're actually going to find the next time you reach for the brand you've been buying for years. I've spent the last few weeks tracking this. Talking to people who work in warehouses, reading retail data, watching pricing move in real time across Walmart, Costco, and Amazon. And what I'm seeing is a pattern. A clear, unmistakable pattern. Name brands are losing shelf space, and the products sliding into their spots are cheaper versions that look almost identical. Same aisle, sometimes the same shelf height, sometimes a nearly identical package design. A lot of shoppers won't even notice the switch happened. Now, I want to be clear about something. I'm not here to tell you cheaper always means worse. In a lot of cases, the quality is genuinely close. But in some of these situations, the formula has changed, the size has dropped, or the brand you trusted for decades is being quietly pushed aside so a retailer can put more margin in its own pocket. We're going to walk through 8 of these today. 8 products, all of them are things you probably buy on a regular basis, and I have to warn you about number 6. Number 6 genuinely stopped me cold when I found out. You're going to want to stay for that one because it's not what anyone is talking about right now. If you're new here, hit subscribe before we get into this. I put out these insider shopping updates regularly, and you don't want to miss the ones coming up over the next few weeks. They're going to matter. Let's get into it. Product number 1, Tide Laundry Detergent. I want to start here because Tide is one of those brands that people have real loyalty to. They grew up with it. Their parents used it. They don't even check the price anymore. They just grab it. That habit is becoming expensive. Procter & Gamble, the company behind Tide, has confirmed publicly that price increases tied to tariffs and ingredient costs are being passed on to consumers this year. Their CEO said it directly on an earnings call. And we're not talking about a small bump. The cost per load on Tide has been creeping up for 2 years now. Here's what the data actually shows. At Costco, Kirkland's signature liquid laundry detergent comes in at around 9 cents per fluid ounce. Tide at the same Costco runs about 12 cents per fluid ounce. That's a 30% difference on a product you buy over and over again. A warehouse contact I heard from recently mentioned that some stores are doubling down on their private label detergent display space. Not because Tide sells badly. It sells fine. But the margin on the store brand version is significantly better for the retailer, and they're making decisions accordingly. I bought 2 of the Kirkland Big Jugs last month. Paid around $18 each. If I had bought 2 comparable Tide containers, I would have been closer to $24 or $25. That's $12 to $14 saved in a single shopping trip on one item. The other thing I want you to know is that Kirkland laundry detergent is widely believed to be manufactured by the same type of industrial facilities that supply major brands. The active cleaning agents are nearly identical. I've been using it myself for about 4 months, and I notice no difference on everyday loads. Liquid laundry detergent stores extremely well. Keep it in a cool, dry location and it's good for 12 to 18 months easily. If you have storage space, stocking up 2 to 3 jugs right now before tariff-driven price hikes fully hit the shelf makes a lot of sense. Don't wait until the gap between Tide and everything else widens even further. That gap is already there, and it's already moving. Product number 2, Bounty Paper Towels. This one hits hard if you've been brand loyal to Bounty for a long time, because Bounty is genuinely a quality product. Nobody is disputing that. But what's happening to the package is something you need to know. Bounty double rolls have gone through multiple sheet count reductions over the past few years. The rolls look the same from the outside. The package dimensions haven't changed dramatically, but the number of sheets inside has quietly dropped. What used to be 98 sheets per double roll is now closer to 90. That sounds minor until you multiply it across 12 rolls and realize you're getting almost an entire roll less per package, at the same price or higher. There is solid retail data showing that store-brand paper towels at warehouse clubs run about 2 cents per square foot. Bounty at the same stores runs about 4 cents per square foot. That's double the cost for a product where blind tests consistently show most people cannot tell the difference in everyday use. I tracked this at Walmart recently. The Great Value paper towel bundle came in at $9.46 for 6 double rolls. A comparable Bounty pack was running significantly more per roll. I bought the great value version, brought it home. My family used it for 2 weeks without a single complaint. Nobody asked where the Bounty went. Here's what I do now. I keep a stock of 6 to 8 rolls ahead. Paper towels store perfectly, as long as they're kept dry and away from pests. They're lightweight, stackable, and the cost savings over a year are real. If your household goes through 2 rolls a week, cutting your per roll cost nearly in half is not a small thing. That's real money back in your pocket over 12 months. The brand swap is already happening at the shelf planning level. Retailers are giving more prime display space to their own labels. Bounty will still be there, but it's going to be priced up while the alternatives keep getting better. Product number 3. Hellmann's mayonnaise. Now here's one I buy every single week. Hellmann's. For a long time, I wouldn't even consider switching. I grew up with it. It tastes like mayonnaise is supposed to taste. But then I started paying attention to the jar size. Hellmann's has been running price increases that are hard to track unless you're watching per ounce cost. The 30-ounce jar that used to be right around $3.50 has quietly moved toward $5 and sometimes beyond, depending on location. Unilever, which owns Hellmann's, was deep in merger talks earlier this year that collapsed in March 2026. And the instability around that brand's ownership future is very real. When a brand's corporate parent is uncertain about its own direction, supply chain consistency takes a hit. Meanwhile, retailers have invested heavily in their own mayo options. Walmart's Great Value Mayonnaise and Costco's Kirkland Mayo have both received quality improvements over the last 2 years. The per-ounce cost difference is striking. You can often find store-brand mayo at Costco for roughly half the per-ounce price of Hellmann's. I ran my own test 3 months ago. I bought 1 jar of Hellmann's and 1 jar of a warehouse store mayo. I used them side by side for sandwiches, potato salad, and a coleslaw dressing. My honest assessment, the difference was noticeable on a spoon alone but meaningfully reduced once it was mixed into food. For cooking and recipes, I genuinely could not tell the difference. For the jar you're just going to mix into tuna or spread on a sandwich, the store brand is doing the same job at significantly lower cost. Mayo keeps well. Unopened jars in a cool pantry last well past the sell-by date if stored correctly. Refrigerate immediately after opening and use within 2 months. Buying a couple of jars when you find a good price is easy and practical. Hellmann's isn't disappearing. But the corporate turbulence around Unilever's food brands, combined with consistent price pressure, means the gap between Hellmann's and a quality store brand is wider than it has ever been. That gap is your money. Product number 4. Kellogg's cereal. This one has been a slow burn and most people just haven't noticed yet. W.K. Kellogg, after splitting from the broader Kellanova snacks business, was acquired by Ferrero in late 2025. This matters because ownership transitions in food manufacturing almost always come with formula reviews, package size reviews, and cost restructuring. The cereal brands you know, Frosted Flakes, Raisin Bran, Corn Flakes, are now sitting inside a new parent company that's going to be looking hard at margins. The shrinkflation on Kellogg's products had already been happening for years before any of this. Family-size Frosted Flakes went from 24 ounces to 21.7 ounces. The price did not drop accordingly. The per-ounce cost jumped by nearly 40% across that same window according to tracked retail data. That is not a small number. And here's the thing. Cereal is one of the easiest product categories to switch to store brand without anyone in your household complaining. Store brand Corn Flakes, Bran Flakes, and Honey Oat Rounds have been taste tested extensively, and the results are consistently comparable. I switched my household from name brand cereals about 8 months ago. I bought Walmart Great Value Frosted Flakes and Corn Flakes. Total cost for 2 large boxes was around $4. The Kellogg's versions of the same boxes would have been over $8. My kids ate both versions without any reaction. There were no complaints. Nobody noticed. Dry cereal stores extremely well. Sealed in its bag inside the box. It's good for 6 to 9 months. I buy 4 or 5 boxes at a time when I find the store brand versions at a good price. Keep them stacked in a pantry shelf and rotate through. It works perfectly. The brand transition is happening whether you participate in it or not. Ferrero is going to make changes to those cereal lines. You may not like what those changes look like in 2 years. Getting ahead of that shift by finding a quality store brand alternative now is just smart planning. Product number 5. Heinz ketchup. This one is going to be controversial because Heinz ketchup loyalty runs extremely deep in American households. But I need you to understand what is happening to that brand right now. Kraft Heinz reported a $5.8 billion net loss in 2025. They took a $9.3 billion impairment charge against their North American grocery brands, the brands that include Heinz. A new CEO came in on January 1st of this year, and his very first public statement was that the company's core brands are not healthy enough. His words, not mine. When the leadership of a food company says the brands are fragile, that tells you something about where investment is going and where it isn't. Morgan Stanley recently maintained a cautious rating on Kraft Heinz, citing private label competition as one of the primary risks. And that private label competition is winning. Walmart's Great Value ketchup has grown its shelf footprint. Amazon's store brand ketchup is now competing directly on price and search placement. The price gap between Heinz and store brand ketchup at most major retailers is now between 40 and 60%. I bought 2 large bottles of Great Value ketchup a few months ago, paid about $1.60 each for 32-ounce bottles. Heinz in the same size at that same store was running $3.79. I did a direct comparison over 3 weeks of normal use. The Great Value ketchup was slightly thinner in texture and had a touch less vinegar complexity. But on a burger or in a meatloaf recipe, the difference was negligible. Ketchup has an extremely long shelf life. Unopened, it's good for 1 to 2 years past the production date. I keep 4 to 6 bottles ahead in my pantry. It costs almost nothing to store, and the savings per bottle over time are significant. Heinz will be around. But with that level of financial stress on the parent company, you should expect more size reductions, more formula tweaks, and more price creep. The store brand versions are not going anywhere. They're going to keep improving, and the price gap is going to keep working in your favor if you're willing to make the switch. Product number 6, Tide Pods and P&G Premium Laundry Units. Okay, I told you about this one in the beginning, and I want you to really pay attention here because this is the item that stopped me cold. Tide Pods, the convenience format, the little capsules that everyone switched to because they're easy, they're pre-measured, and they're supposed to be worth the premium. Procter & Gamble confirmed in an earnings call that premium unit dose laundry products, which is what Tide Pods are, will be subject to the full tariff-related cost pass-through this year. Not a partial pass-through. The full impact. Their CEO specifically named this format as one of the most exposed categories because of imported packaging materials and certain chemical inputs. Here's what that means in real numbers. A Tide Pods package that was running $18 for 31 count last year is already pushing $22 to $24 in many markets. That's a cost per pod increase that's happening faster than almost any other product I'm tracking right now. And here's what nobody is saying loudly enough. The store brand unit dose detergent pods that Costco, Sam's Club, and Amazon are selling have gotten genuinely good. I mean that. I tried the Sam's Club members' Mark Pods and the Kirkland version. Both clean just as well as Tide Pods on standard loads. The cost per pod difference is significant. Store brand unit pods often run 30 to 40% less per pod. I bought a 120 count bag of store brand pods last month, paid about $15. The Tide equivalent would have been closer to $40 for the same count. That's $25 saved on one item in one purchase. Laundry pods store well when kept in their sealed bag away from moisture. Don't let them sit in a hot laundry room or garage in summer. Heat and humidity can cause them to stick together. Keep them in a climate-controlled space and they're good for a year plus. The price pressure on Tide Pods specifically is not slowing down. This is a category where I genuinely think making the switch now, before prices climb another 15 to 20%, is one of the smartest near-term purchasing decisions you can make. Product number 7, Dawn Dish Soap. Dawn is another Procter & Gamble brand, and right now, P&G is in a position where they are openly signaling price increases across their entire portfolio. Dawn specifically has gone through a series of quiet reformulations and size reductions over the past few years that most people don't notice because the bottle shape stays similar and the branding stays bright. but the concentration has been adjusted and the per-wash cost has risen steadily. The dish soap category is one of the most competitive private label spaces in all of retail. Walmart's Great Value dish soap, the Costco Kirkland dish soap, and Amazon's store brand versions have all received investment to close the performance gap with Dawn. In independent consumer testing, the performance difference between Dawn Ultra and a quality store brand dish soap is minimal when used in equal amounts. The price difference is not minimal. A bottle of Dawn at Walmart currently runs between $3 and $4 for the standard 21-ounce bottle. The Great Value equivalent in the same size is often under $2. On a per-ounce basis, that's a consistent gap of nearly 50%. I did something simple. I put a bottle of Great Value dish soap next to my sink for 3 weeks. I tested it on the same types of messes: greasy pans, baby bottles, produce rinsing. My honest take was that for light everyday dishwashing it performed identically to Dawn. On heavy grease, Dawn still had a slight edge. But for 90% of what my household uses dish soap for, the store brand was fine. Dish soap stores practically forever. It doesn't expire in any meaningful sense within a normal usage window. Buying 4 to 6 bottles ahead is easy, cheap, and smart given where P&G pricing is headed this year. I keep a row of them under my kitchen sink. It's one of the easiest swaps you can make and one of the most consistent money savers month over month. Product number 8, Kraft Mac and Cheese. I want to end on this one because it carries something that goes beyond just the price. Kraft Mac and Cheese is comfort. It's what parents make when they're tired. It's what kids ask for. It's what adults eat alone at midnight and feel weirdly okay about. It has its own kind of emotional weight, and that emotional weight has been used to justify a price that keeps climbing. The standard box of Kraft Mac and Cheese that was around $1 at Walmart a few years ago is now running closer to $2 in many locations, and in multi-packs or specialty varieties, significantly more. The pasta amount has quietly gone down. The cheese powder formula has been adjusted in ways that longtime customers actually notice. There's a reason there are Reddit threads full of people saying the current version doesn't taste the same as it used to. Kraft Heinz's North American grocery business, which includes Kraft Mac and Cheese, was specifically called out in the company's most recent write-down as one of the impaired brands. That's significant. When accountants write down a brand's value, it reflects declining volume and declining consumer loyalty. Both of those things are happening. Store-brand macaroni and cheese has gotten extremely good. Annie's organic varieties at Costco, Target's Good and Gather version, Walmart's Great Value. All of these have been improved and now compete directly on taste. I had my kids do a blind comparison 3 months ago with the Great Value version and Kraft. 2 out of 3 said the Great Value was the same. The third said he liked Kraft better but couldn't explain why. The per-box price difference is typically 60 to 70 cents per box. That doesn't sound like much until you're buying 12 boxes a month for a family with kids. That's $7 to $8 a month in savings on one item. Over a year, that adds up to real money. Dry macaroni with sealed cheese powder keeps for 18 months to 2 years easily, if stored in a cool, dry pantry. Buying a case at a time is entirely practical. Kraft isn't going away. But the brand is not the same product it used to be. The formula has drifted. The price has climbed. And the store brand versions are finally good enough that the loyalty premium just doesn't justify itself anymore. Here's the pattern behind everything we just covered. Every single one of these brands is owned by a company under real financial pressure right now. Procter & Gamble is passing tariff costs directly to consumers on Tide, Bounty, Dawn, and Pods. Kraft Heinz just took a $9 billion write-down and has a brand new CEO trying to stabilize things. Unilever's food division is in strategic flux. Kellogg's just changed corporate parents. When the big parent company is under stress, what suffers first is the product inside the package. Smaller sizes, reformulated recipes, higher prices per unit. It's always in that order. Meanwhile, retailers like Walmart, Costco, and Amazon have spent the last 2 years heavily investing in their own store brands. They've hired food scientists. They've updated packaging. They've made the quality case stronger and the price case stronger at the same time. The gap between name brand and store brand quality has never been smaller. The gap between name brand and store brand price has never been bigger. You don't have to switch everything at once. You don't have to throw out what's under your sink or in your pantry. But the next time any of these products run out, consider giving the store brand version a real trial. 2 weeks. Honest use. See what you actually notice. Most people find they notice almost nothing, except the number at the bottom of their grocery receipt. That's the whole point. You knowing this puts you ahead. Most shoppers are still reaching for the same boxes and bottles out of pure habit while the math has quietly turned against them. You're not most shoppers. If this video helped you see something you weren't seeing before, and I genuinely believe it did, please hit that like button right now. It takes 2 seconds and it helps more people find this information before they need it instead of after. Subscribe if you haven't already. I do these insider shopping updates regularly, and what's coming in the next few videos is going to be just as important as what we covered today. I appreciate every one of you who watches, shares, and takes the time to use this information in your actual shopping. That's what this channel is about. Not fear, not panic, just being the person in the room who knows what's actually happening before everyone else figures it out. Take care of your households, stock smart, and I'll see you in the next one.